we're going to talk about reading input in Java today. Okay, for example, we have a problem. I'm gonna place here the problem. The problem will be obtain or find the area of a triangle. Okay, let's try this basic problem this time. So what we are going to do is we're going to create the pseudocode. Okay, so we're going to plan the solution for our problem, and then we're going to write a pseudocode to represent the step by step solution, and then eventually we're going to write the Java code for it. Okay, so I'm gonna need another text here. I'm gonna format that into like that. Okay, wait, okay, and then the first is I'm gonna do that start in there, and then I will proceed and begin with the first step. The first step is, of course, similar to your um, previous problems. We need to gather the input data. So for our input data, we need the base and the height of the triangle in order for us to get the area of it. As we know, okay, the area of a triangle is obtained by multiplying 1/2 and the base and the height. So the first step will be read or input. You can use that. Read base and then height. Okay, you just separate the items that you need. You can also press tab here. Let me just use tab there instead of using multiple spaces. And then the next step, since we already have our input data, the next step, we can immediately proceed to computing the area, which is equal to 1/2 times base times height. And then you can now display the area, and then that ends the program. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this there, and then the next step is we're going to draw the flowchart for this. Okay, I forgot to mention a while ago, you also have to represent this to a visual representation just to slow down the process and give you ample amount of time to let the process sink into your mind. When you will get used to this process, basically later on you just simply omit all of this step. Okay, but as a beginner, since most of you are beginner, we just have to um, um, go through this process, and the benefit of that is we get use, or you know, we are given ample amount of time to let these new ideas or new thing sink in into our mind. Okay, as an initial steps to programming or creating a solution to problem through programming. Okay, so let me now draw my shapes. So I'm gonna begin with an oval. So to make this in oval shape, you can get this yellow button there and drag that inside, just like that. And then you can the start there. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go and click this one, and I think I cannot find the shape from there. So I'm just gonna go, maybe I'm just gonna remove that right now and click this. And then now we'll go to the next step, which is input. We're going to use a parallelogram. So I will set it there, and then read base and height. Okay, let me give it a little more space. I'm gonna drag that floating arrow down button there to connect it to the next shape and align it like there, so they are properly aligned. And then double click again to bring out, I'm just using the draw IO. Okay, let me just center the thing. I think I'm just gonna hide that to to have a wider space. The next thing I'm gonna do is the process already, which is to compute area. I can basically do it like this one to make it more readable. Okay, 1/2 times base times height, because that's a formula for getting the area triangle. Okay, I know you already know that, and just make this a little slimmer. Okay, and then next, to display, we're going to use parallelogram again. Display area, like that. Okay, just need to be concise in here, and as much as possible you just write the steps that you have used in your pseudocode. Okay, as simple as that. Then we're going to end this by the same terminal symbol, which is this one. We're going to use n, or type n in there, and then okay, something like that. This is our flow chart already. Let me just zoom it out, and that's the whole, I mean the complete flow chart. Okay, now we're done with the planning and design phase of our um, problem solving steps. We now go, the next step is we now go to implementation. We're now going to implement to bytecode, and this time I'm gonna introduce to you reading input. That's basically our topic today. So reading input is a process of allowing the user to enter dynamic data to our variables. Okay, as opposed or in contrast with our previous activity, we are just assigning fixed value or number literal, okay, literal numbers to our variables. So let's open a folder and then create a file for that. Create a descriptive title. Just gonna name it triangle area .java as the file extension. Then let me just remove the one. I wanna type it whole thing, whole process. Wanna do it myself. Public class, then triangle area. This should be the same. That's a class name. Should be the same as your um should be the same as your file name. And then inside that, you are now gonna define main method, which is the entry point, by typing public static void main string arms, like that one. Okay, and we can now begin typing the instructions that's necessary to complete the program. Now, it's a good practice that at the beginning we can now, well, in the beginning we are going to lay down all the steps as a means of guide. Okay, this may mean, or this may seem unnecessary right now because the program is very small. Later on, when you work with big project or large code, that will give you a sort of guideline where you don't easily get distracted and you get reminded on the direction of your program. So the first, I'm gonna input the data. Second is compute area. Next is display area, like that. Now for input, we need a holding space or area, a storage space, which is called variable. To create them, we need to declare them, specifying the data type. I'm gonna use int for my base and also for my height. Okay, this is mass declaration. That's possible. You can individually. It's just fine. Okay. Next, I'm gonna input the data. Last time we were content to entering a fixed value, something like that. Now I'm gonna teach you how to allow the user to input a custom or dynamic value. I'm gonna need a special type of data, okay, or a class data type to be exact. It's called the scanner. That's located in a different library. I want to introduce to you the term library in programming. Library is just a collection of codes typically written by different programmer, and they made it available for the use. So you just have to use it. The order of reading, allowing the user to enter as dynamic value, okay, can be fulfilled by using a scanner class or a scanner class data type. Like what I've said, it is coming from a different library. We have to import it. So import statement should go before the class definition. Import java.util.scanner. It's located in the java.util package. You call it package, and then the name of the class, which is scanner. Now we can optionally import everything that is inside that. I guess the scanner by using the wildcard symbol asterisk, and it doesn't have different effect on the performance if you're going to lead, just going to import everything, okay. But because later on we will be needing other classes that is stored in this library, and either that or specifically specifying the scanner is just fine. I'm just gonna do it like that. Performance effect, the impact on the performance is nothing, okay, just the same. So scanner, and then we're going to choose a name, like we are choosing a name for our variable. Just gonna name it input equal. Now to create an object, we use new scanner and then pass inside it system.in. I don't want you to concern yourself about this thing right now. You will learn those things later on. Just copy as it is. But basically what I'm doing is here, I'm creating a scanner and I'm passing inside it the standard input stream, which basically referring to your keyboard as your input data, or a device or the source where you are entering data into your program. Now, to use that, I'm gonna go in the base, refer it to it, which is this one, and assign to it by using the assignment operator the value that the user that will be entered by reading it using this input dot next in. Okay. Now I have placed that in the document. I mean in the source, all the methods that you can use for a scanner. Now, a scanner contains many methods that you can use to read input depending on the type of the data. You can use nextInt for integer, byte for a byte, and so on and so forth. Now, since I'm gonna be needing integer, I'm gonna be reading an integer, I'm gonna use nextInt. What does this do? Copy the user entered value up and just after he presses the enter. Before he presses the enter rather, and then it's going to copy and save it into the base variable. Now I want you to see what will happen if I'm going to display the value of base. Okay, I'm gonna create an optional test here to test everything out. To test everything out, I can just print the value of the variable on the screen. System.out.println, just gonna say test here, test, and then plus base. So I'm gonna display what's entered in the screen or on the through the keyboard. Okay, rather, let me run this. I have to make sure that it is saved. Every time that you make changes, you have to save. That's an indicator that it is saved already. Compile it. Let me just clear this thing. Oh, never mind that command. I'm basically on a Mac OS environment, but the process is just the same on Windows. So to compile it, I'm gonna type java triangle area.java. Complete the file name, and then java triangle area. As you can see, it's waiting for me to type something. Wait, I forgot to provide the instruction what's going to do. Just before the reading, I'm gonna tell him something to give him a direction by displaying something on the screen. Say enter base, like that one. I can also create a welcome message here. See, out.print ln, gonna make it with ln, and welcome this program computes for the area of a triangle. You can be shorter than this. You can create a welcome message shorter than that. Now, do not worry about or do not care about labels like this. I did not type them. Those are just decoration or annotation provided by the code editor or the extension installed in this editor to help me, you know, identify things out. It's just a decoration for readability sake, but you don't have to type it. If you don't have it right now, you don't need it. It's not necessary. Okay. Now, let me save that one, and then Control C. I'm just gonna press Control C here to break this one, this execution, like that. Then I'm gonna say Java again. I don't have to retype it. I am just going to use the arrow up key to the previously executed command. Okay, I'm using the arrow. You can find it on the keyboard. Press enter, and then the Java command. You can see welcome. This program completes the area of the triangle, which is this one. Enter base, which is this one. And as you can see, it did not go back to something like this because it's waiting for me to enter a value. If I'm type something there, okay, as you can see, I can type something and then press enter. That value before I press enter will be read by this, and that value will be saved to this variable. To prove that, I did the test, which is this one, and then I concatenate the value of the base, which is 203, just the same as this. Okay, I'm going to do the same process with what do you call this? The height. I can just simply copy this thing here to make my life easy, and I'm just gonna change this to height. That's a magic I want you to understand. Learn as early as now. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, it's a shortcut since it just do the same thing. It's just it just does the same thing rather. Okay, pardon my grammar sometimes. I'm not a native English speaker. Okay, enter height, and then if I'm going to say change this to height, I'll get the same thing here. Okay, go improve it yourself. Okay, let me save my time. Now I can now go to compute area. Now the formula is basically, let me type here the formula. The area is basically the say 0.5 or 1/2 times base times height, right? Formula. So I can just translate it into code. Okay. I'm creating a variable again. So we need a variable to store the value of the area or the result of the computation later, so it won't get lost. Okay. Now I'm gonna create an error since there is a big potential that this operation will result into a number that has decimal values, decimal points. So I'm going to choose between the two floating data types, either float or double. I'm just gonna use double. Okay, and then name it area, and then there's one thing that I want you to learn here before I proceed. Okay, before I continue that, I want you to see something here. 1 divided by 2, this is an integer, An integer divided by integer will result into an integer data. So if we're going to perform that, the result is 0.5, but 0.5 is not an integer. It's going to truncate 0.5, the result will be 0. Let me prove that to you. Let me turn on this again and test it out. Area, save, Control S, and then let me go back to my terminal, compile, that's Java, and then Java for compile execution, and turn. Let me just bypass this quickly. As you can see, it's 0, but it should be 0.5. Now to fix that, I need to convert this into a double or into a number that has decimal point to make it double literal. Any hint or any answer? That's right. I have to either add 0 there, or I can do it here. any of the two operand, you can do it also on same. This is integer, this is now a double. 2.0 is just the same as 2, right? In essence, but it is of the double data type, meaning it is larger data. And then I want you to know that when we are performing operation between two different data types but are both numbers, the larger data type will be the resulting data type. So this will become double. So if I'm going to say that one, and then we run it, it's 0.5. Okay, that's what I want. Now let me now continue that, and then times base times height. Or if you don't like this one, but it's worth teaching you about the concept of this, okay, I can just simply say 0.5. Okay, that will just get the same result. Now, and after that, I can now go and display the area by typing system.out.println. The area is then area. Okay, if the unit is indicated, say for example, you can just square cm. Since it's not indicated, you can simply off that. But I'm just gonna do it that way, so you can have a string literal here, a variable here, and then another string variable concatenated together using a symbol. I am not adding them. This is a concatenator or concatenating operator. Aside from it is a class. Okay, when you are performing on two numbers, going to the arithmetic addition. But this is the string, integer string is just going to concatenate it. Okay, save. I'm gonna test this out. Java and 4, 3, you will get the area is 6.0 square centimeter. Now I'm just gonna remove this one, or I can completely remove it because my program is that testing there is just unnecessary. Let me compile to polish it up, and I will get okay 10.0 square, same as simple as that. You can do this over and over until you get this thing.